Good morning and welcome into the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Rainy Monday edition of the program today, brought to you in our first segment by Miller Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 9 east of Martinsburg, home with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Good morning, Davey.
Hey, good morning to you. Welcome back. And what a nice timing for you. Take your family away for vacation. Beautiful weather all week. And at the tail end, kind of coming home, it starts to rain. Doesn't get better than that.
You know, when I come back from Deep Creek, I tend to bring the rain back with me for whatever reason.
Did you do that last year too?
When we left, it just came down to the point where you couldn't see in front of you. This year, the drive back was better, but then I'll come to work this morning and the rain was just obnoxious.
I noticed I texted you, I guess, on Friday or Saturday, and I asked if you were home yet, and you said no Sunday. So you stayed all the way until yesterday before you
It was a
came
Sunday
home.
to Sunday rental.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome home. It's nice to have you.
Thank
I think things went reasonably well last week, but it's never the same when you're not here.
Well, that's very kind of you, Dave. And while I was gone, I want you to know I thought of you often.
Okay.
Even you're smart enough to know better than that, aren't you?
Good.
I did actually, on Tuesday.
It's Wednesday before you got me out of your mind finally. God, I'm not thinking about it today.
You weren't here Tuesday, so I did check with Joe Ferretti and Matt Miller, who filled in for us on Tuesday.
For the second time in eons that both of us were gone that day.
Joe said it all went well. So
yeah, it seemed to,
That's
and they had Congressman Mooney on that day, so they interviewed him in the first segment. I was in Philadelphia that day, and I got to share with our listeners, you didn't get to hear this, but I was up there for the World Congress on Industrial Biotechnology, one of my clients, and I had never experienced heat and humidity, at least that I can remember, like it was on Tuesday in Philadelphia. I mean, it was like wring your shirt out kind of heat and humidity if you're outside.
I didn't have that. It was literally, I think, about 70, 75 all week long at Deep Creek. It was cool.
Very nice. And you saw my boy Reese Hoskins compete very favorably in the home run derby. Did you
I
catch any of that?
didn't catch his performance, but I did see Bryce Harper's
walk-off
fantastic finish to the home run derby.
Yeah, Reese was leading it for a while, about half the event, and then lost by 1 in the second round. But he was actually hit 17 in the first round, and I think 21 in the second round, so 37, 38 home runs.
The one night I actually did some radio station related work was that night. I intended to watch the home run derby. My phone rang. It was a call that I needed to take, and I did. I was on that call for a couple of hours. It's some pretty interesting stuff here. Now, we have a live guest in this segment here in studio. When I say live, I mean that as in Talley Sergent, who joined us via phone right after the fourth, and she is with us here in studio because she's in Martinsburg today. Talley, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. It's great to be back.
And it's nice to have you stop by the studio. We really appreciate that. Thanks.
Absolutely. I always prefer to show up in person and have that face-to-face conversation.
How was your drive? Well, I assume you stayed overnight.
I did. Got in yesterday, had a meetup, a Sunday afternoon meetup over in Charlestown yesterday. Had about 50 people show up, which was wonderful on a Sunday afternoon in July. But
that's a nice turnout.
Yeah, I got to. It's great, and so I got to not have to worry about driving too far this morning in the pouring rain.
Walk us through your day today. Yeah. What's your campaign day like today?
So visiting with you guys this morning and then heading...
it goes downhill from there.
Well, I don't know about that. But
especially the way the day started.
That was honest.
I called her the wrong name when I saw her in the hallway.
That's all right. I'm a first-timer running for office. So, but heading down to visit with folks at the Burke Street Promise neighborhood.
Great program.
It is a great program. So Charlotte Norris is leading the charge down there with a host of great partners, both public and private sector partners. I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about their work there as we work to address the drug epidemic as a community, which is a hugely important issue to everyone, I think, because we see the impacts, whether it is with our public health, whether it's with children, whether it's economically, whether it's just the state of our community. And for me, it's a very personal issue because my family's been impacted by this drug epidemic. My sister's an addict. My mom's adopted her 3 children after raising 6 kids of her own. And is staring down this drug epidemic every day and working very hard to break the cycle so that we don't lose another generation of West Virginians.
And, and it has to be when it hits your family that in such a personal way, it does become a very important issue, not only for the policy part of it, but just for the family part. Is she doing better now, your sister?
She is doing better, but not in recovery right now. So we continue to pray for her as she, struggles with this very serious disease.
Yeah, I think everybody at this point can identify somebody in their family that, whether it's a direct family, a cousin, or whatever, that's going through something right now related to that. And Talley, it's amazing how many people who are suffering with an addiction right now started off with prescription drugs, and I think we're finally starting to take that more seriously now in this country as we begin to crack down on the prescriptions that are written and the pain pill mills that hopefully are starting to be put out of business in this state.
Well, I think that is a hugely important issue, and that's why I've been very vocal about calling on my opponent in this campaign, as well as our Attorney General here in the state of West Virginia, to be transparent and force these drug companies that have dumped pills in our state, that have poisoned our people, to be very transparent about when and where they were dumped into our state, so that we can start correcting this problem and holding them accountable. The pharmaceutical companies have to be held accountable, and unfortunately, with members of Congress like Alex Mooney, who continue to take money from them and turn a blind eye to this issue, it's very hard to overcome and beat back the drug companies or the drug dealers that come, right here. You're not far from Baltimore. You have a lot of intersections of interstates, and so it's a perfect storm. And I know that there's a lot of good work happening at the local level, but one of the reasons why I'm visiting Burke Street, why I'm meeting with Sheriff Keller later today, is to ensure that there's a partner in Washington that doesn't come to the table, either doesn't come to the table at all or is coming too little too late.
What do you think can be done at the federal level when it comes to, I get your point about the pharmaceutical PACs putting money into campaigns and thinking that they're influencing that member of Congress. But what else can be done, do you think, on a policy level at the federal level to help West Virginians not have the kind of access to the opioid drugs that exist here in the state?
Well, I think that it's not going to be just a one-size-fits-all. I think that the efforts here locally in Martinsburg show a great model for others to use and for them to localize. But I think the key thing is making sure that we have the resources. And for me, I break the drug epidemic down in three key pillars. One is accountability. So holding big pharma, holding doctors who are, and not all doctors, but doctors who are misusing their ability to write prescription drugs. We need to hold addicts accountable. As a sister of someone who is an addict, there is accountability with the addict as well. I think elected officials, as I just mentioned, who are taking money from corporate pharmaceutical companies, corporations who continue to dump these pills into our state, there has to be accountability there too. I think breaking the cycle, which is why I'm going to Burke Street this morning, and hopefully getting to listen and visit with some of the children who participate in the programs. And today, I believe, is Superhero Day, although...
Is it really?
Yeah. So
National Superhero Day.
I didn't know that.
So, usually I look up what the national day is of the day, and I didn't do that.
Well, it's not national. It's Superhero Day at the program.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought it was
so stay tuned to that, Dave.
Okay,
you haven't missed out on
I'll
anything.
check in when you leave today. I'll check in on it.
So I might have to go pick up a cape.
Man.
Get
there
two.
You go. Yeah, get two capes.
In case you lose the first one.
Sure, okay. One for you and one for me.
But, we have to be able to reach our children in the best way that we can do that right now is through the public school system.
Last time we had you on by telephone, Talley, and we're talking with Talley Sergent. She is a Democratic nominee for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District. You said that, in your opinion, that health care is a privilege, is a right and not a privilege, and that's what you believe. In light of the individual mandate probably going away from the Obamacare and leaving, I don't know how many, I've heard 200,000 West Virginians uninsured, what are your thoughts on how to fund a program that would guarantee quality health care to all Americans?
Well, I think one thing is, I do believe, you are right, Dave, I do believe healthcare is a human right, and we have got to, the first thing that we have got to do in Washington to fix healthcare is to stop the all-out assault on healthcare. I mean, it's not just, the individual mandate will impact 200,000 West Virginians, but there's 800,000 West Virginians with a pre-existing condition. Addiction is a pre-existing condition as well. And so taking healthcare away and making it harder for West Virginians to get affordable healthcare is just wrong. And so I believe that we need to strengthen and improve the Affordable Care Act. And I've shared with you all, I played sports growing up. I still like to say I play sports, just not at the same level when I was much younger. But, we've got to make that pivot from defense to offense, and we've got to stop the assault on healthcare and work to stabilize the markets, to drive down costs. Increasing the pools, I think, will be important because West Virginia is a high-risk pool. Unfortunately, we are an unhealthy state, and because of a lot of different factors. But I do think that, spending $1.5 trillion on tax breaks to corporations who ship jobs overseas versus making that investment into strengthening health care and making sure that people with pre-existing conditions, it's 91,000 children in West Virginia have a pre-existing condition. I think that it's about priorities. It's about listening to the people in your district. And right now, Alex Mooney's not listening to West Virginia.
Can you give me an example of how he's not listening?
Well, he's voted time and again to take health care away from West Virginians. And our teachers are walking out of our schools. Our school service personnel are taking to the streets over the cost of health care. Now, I know that that's a state health program that they're in, but it still gets back to skyrocketing health care costs. He's not listening to West Virginians when it comes to this drug epidemic. He's voted time and again to cut much needed federal resources that could help, whether it's through Medicaid expansion, whether it's through ensuring that our law enforcement officials have the resources they need. He even voted against a law that everyone else in the delegation supported, called Jesse's Law, which is named after a young woman in Kanawha County who overdosed after her doctor did not read her medical history. She had suffered from addiction, and he prescribed her opioids, and she overdosed and died. So
Alex,
those are just a few examples.
Staying on your opponent, Congressman Mooney, for just a moment, he has won twice in this district, as you well know. One was close the first time out against Nick Casey. The second race, not so close. He lengthened his lead there. What does Talley Sergent have to do in this campaign, generally speaking, strategically, to reverse that course and affect a different outcome in the second district?
Well, I always laugh because people are like, how are you going to win? And so
that was kind of my question.
She just said it quickly.
140 characters or less, right?
You just got right to it.
But we're going to win by getting more than one vote than he does. And for me, that comes in all forms and fashions. I don't really care where Alex Mooney's from. I care that he's not here right now. And he hasn't been here for 4 years in our communities, helping people when we are in a time of need, being there, whether it's through constituent services, whether it's supporting the people of West Virginia through his votes in Washington, D.C. And so what we are doing is we're going to just speak truth to power, and I'm willing to take on the hard issues. I'm not going to shy away from anything, but we're running a very West Virginia focused campaign, and we're getting out in the communities and really building a grassroots movement, teaming up with our teachers and school service personnel, teaming up with folks who are having to work 2 to 3 jobs, teaming up with people who are retired and concerned about Social Security or Medicare, teaming up with our young people who want to be able to stay here in West Virginia and not have to cross, state lines for opportunity. So we're going to focus quite a bit on grassroots, getting into these communities in all 17 counties across this great district and listening to people and applying that so we can hit the ground running in January 2019.
It's interesting to me that in looking at the political environment, you've got Donald Trump, of course, with huge favorable numbers in the second district, yet you also have the Democrat incumbent Joe Manchin running 10, 11, 12 points ahead of the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate. So it seems to me voters, at least at this point in time right now, are willing to split their tickets in the state of West Virginia for the right candidate. What makes you that right candidate, do you think?
I think it's because I'm willing to listen to people. I'm willing to be in the communities, and that's something that Alex Mooney is not. And that's just his track record over 4 years. This is not me being partisan or saying things just because I'm running against him. That's the fact. You could walk down the street, and I would bet you $1 that they wouldn't know, 10 people, 100 people wouldn't know who Alex Mooney is.
The National Democratic Party seems to be, the progressive movement seems to have really taken hold in the Democratic Party. They seem to be moving leftward, if you will, in terms of what their national message is. What would you like to say to the national Democratic leaders running in a conservative state like West Virginia? Would you like to say, hey, slow down a little bit, don't get too far, out there, or do you like that sort of progressive movement that's going on at the national level, and how do you counteract that here in West Virginia when you have so many conservative Democrats and independents, not to mention Republicans in the 2nd District?
I'll be honest with you, Dave. I don't talk to the National Democrats much. So I've taken on their candidate in the primary and taken on the National Democratic establishment in the primary. We're continuing to speak truth to power to them. They need to start listening to the people in West Virginia, not just in West Virginia, but they need to start listening to people in Wisconsin and Ohio and Michigan and across Appalachia and across the heartland, because this is not a country that's based on 2 or 3 states. This is all 50 United States. And so that's why I'm focused on a West Virginia-focused campaign. I support health care for every West Virginian. I support efforts to create opportunity here in West Virginia. And goodness knows I want to end this drug epidemic, not just for my family, but for families all over this great state and country.
What's the greater issue with the economy in West Virginia? Talley, the economy of West Virginia was an issue long before Alex Mooney was elected, or Jay Rockefeller, or you can go back in time for as long as you want to go, but the economy in the state has been an issue for the longest time. It's obviously dependent on coal, but even when coal was king, it's not like the economy in West Virginia was roaring anyway.
That's right. I think that just looking historically back at the state, the geography, it always seems like once you hit the ridgeline and came over the mountains and the hills, that you saw a completely different economic base, and the opportunities were quite different. I think the key is, and we're seeing some really great strides here in the Eastern Panhandle, whereas in other parts of the district, we have a lot of work to do. Economically, and I think some of that is we have to diversify our economy, and we have to be willing to welcome them into them being small businesses, startups, whether it's industry. We need to welcome them into our communities and build the infrastructure that we need to be able to compete. One that we compete economically, one that we still preserve our way of life here in West Virginia, but one that also is connected not just to the community that we live in, but to the global economy and the global community at large.
As infrastructure goes, we traditionally used to think of that as roads and bridges, and now we tend to think of it more as getting the state internet ready, Wi-Fi ready, broadband, high-speed ready, and that's not the case in surprisingly large pockets of this state where you think it would be.
Well, you would think it would be out here in the Eastern Panhandle, and there's still a lot of what I would say dead pockets where you can't get access to cell service or high-speed internet. I will say we can't forget our roads, because we all drive the roads here in the Eastern Panhandle and have seen the traffic and the need for better roads across the board. But to me, the linchpin economically is access to high-speed internet and broadband, and making sure that every community, regardless of zip code, can connect.
We had the FCC chairman, Ajit Pai, I think his name is. We had him on the show not too long ago.
Oh, good.
Talked about making West Virginia, moving it into 2018, internet-wise. How do you do that infrastructurally? From specifics, tell me, how do you get this state, which is such a topographical challenge, to become what it needs to be, regards to broadband?
Well, I have to say, I think that there's been opportunities over the course of the last several years to do that, and I think that the corporations that, like Frontier, like many others, are unwilling to make investments in West Virginia, when I think in the long term it would probably be a smart business move for them. But right now they're not willing to use the funds to make those investments here in the state, and it's really holding us back. I know that they didn't use the funds properly from the 2009 stimulus bill that could have helped connect our state, and so there needs to be greater accountability on those corporate entities that haven't delivered what they were supposed to deliver for the people of this state.
Got about a minute and a half left till we have to break for the news, and I know you need to get on with your day. Go ahead and talk to our audience and tell them why they should consider you as we get in closer to November.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, and I would humbly ask for the support of the people of the 2nd District, because like many of you, I've had enough of the out-of-state corporations that come in and take from us. I've had enough of these out-of-state pharmaceutical companies who have dumped pills in our town and poisoning our people. And to be quite honest, I've had enough of these politicians who do absolutely nothing in Washington, who are not listening to the people of West Virginia. Today, I'm looking forward to joining folks across the community here in Martinsburg to listen and learn, and not just for a photo op, but to actually apply those lessons and put them to work, so that the 2nd District and the people, not just in the Eastern Panhandle, but across the center part of the district and in the Kanawha Valley, not only have a friend in Washington, but a fighter too.
Talley, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about your campaign?
TalleySergent.com, or find us on Facebook.
Spell Sergeant.
Sergent.
There's no A in there, right?
No A.
No A. All right, Talley, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Nice to have you.
Where are you
Good to
headed
see you.
next?
Heading downtown Martinsburg.
Very good. Stay dry. Take 2 umbrellas in case the first one doesn't hold up.
And a cape.
Exactly.
Superhero Day, that's right. 8:31. More to come on our program after the news break.
Situation, knowing when to freeze and when to run. And regret is just a memory written on my brow, and there's nothing I can do.
CBS News Update. The death toll rises in a shooting rampage in Toronto.
I heard at least 20 shots, right, in intervals. You know, clip being spent, reloading, clip being spent, reloading.
Police say a gunman killed 2 people and wounded more than a dozen others when he opened fire on a street in the Greektown neighborhood. City Councilor Mary Fragadakis.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. I mean, this is a street where people walk every day to go do their groceries, to have dinner, to have an ice cream, sit in the square.
I'm Chris Mavridis in Toronto. Police say the gunman moved calmly and methodically and packed plenty of ammunition. He fired into a popular restaurant here on the Danforth Strip in Greektown, and a patio, and then a busy cafe. Witnesses say he took aim at a woman running for cover. She's dead. He reloaded his handgun once more before police arrived, but didn't survive the ensuing gun battle.
Police say they do not have a motive yet. CBS News Update. I'm Deborah.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. It wasn't unanimous, but is enough to keep it moving forward. TransCanada's application to build a natural gas pipeline under the Potomac River got approved by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission by a 3-2 vote. Plans call for one end of that pipeline to be in Morgan County, attached to Mountaineer Gas's pipeline running from Berkeley Springs to Martinsburg, and later from Martinsburg to Charlestown, Ranson, Middleway, and Shepherdstown. Between last June and this June, Martinsburg took in around $4.2 million in revenue from the 1% municipal sales tax. City officials thought they'd be seeing a little bit less than that. Jefferson County Homeland Security and Emergency Management will be holding their next quarterly partnership luncheon this Friday at Patty's Irish Pub in Charlestown. The speaker is Jason Elliott from the National Weather Service, who will be speaking about the recent flooding in Jefferson County. So if you've got a passion for weather or local disaster history, you're encouraged to attend. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
We saw plenty of rain over the weekend here in the Eastern Panhandle, but we were on the western edge of what was some very heavy rain off to our east. The eastern counties of Maryland and Virginia picked up anywhere from 4 to 6 inches, pretty widespread rainfall totals, as opposed to our 1 and 2 inch rainfall amounts here across the area, which was still plenty, and we've still got some more on the way. Daytime high temperature near 80 this afternoon, looking at more showers and possibly some heavy downpours in thunderstorms, and that's the case on through the evening time with early morning lows near 70. Repeat performance tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms, the high near 80. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Howdy, cowpokes. Your favorite cowboy again for Panhandle Printing and Design. I've been lost on the trail, and I bet you've been lost in a big box office supply store looking for help. Well, that's one of the best reasons you should depend on Panhandle Printing and Design when you need to get printing done. They'll always be willing to help answer your questions, and you won't get lost on the back 40 or the envelope pile wondering where the help you're looking for is. At Panhandle Printing and Design, they can help with all your printing needs, with everything from design to production of stationery, envelopes, business cards, invitations, vinyl signs, banners, vehicle wraps, and large format construction plans and more. Now, if you need to find a place for printing, it's time for you to hop in the SUV and drive past the big box store and head to your one-stop printing shop where they have something for everyone. Panhandle Printing and Design at 124 North Maple Avenue in Martinsburg. Call 304-267-7400 or find them online.
For the last 34 years, the Martinsburg Bulldogs have been heard on Talk Radio WRNR.
Leaping into the air, Cello Tenenbaugh has it. Is he in the end zone? Yes, he is. It's a Martinsburg Bulldog touchdown just inside the pylon and keeping his feet in bounds on the far sideline. Tenenbaugh pulls it in.
Join Matt Miller, Vic Holmes, and Jason Colrick for all the 2018 football action on your home for Martinsburg football, Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports radio station.
L.A. Roberts is Berkeley County's oldest jeweler, where every season is new and exciting. In fact, new is old school to us, and though it's nothing new, our old traditions like exceptional service, quality, and value maintain L.A. Roberts Jewelers as the old master among so many new kids on the block. Whether you're a newcomer or part of the old guard, entrust all your fine jewelry needs to L.A. Roberts, Old World Jewelers for a new age, in historic downtown Martinsburg.
Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
Welcome back to the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave on a really rainy, wet, blah kind of Monday. I need to bring everybody down with me here, but sorry.
I know. I mean, after that week you had, too. Be thankful you had it, though, so count your blessings. It was just a beautiful week, and I did think about you, even though you didn't think about me.
Oh, I thought of you often.
But I thought about what a great week for a vacation. I remember Debbie and I were talking about you guys being up there during the great weather, and we were recalling a vacation that we took with our family, had rented a beautiful condo on the beach at Ocean City.
It's the only way to go.
Facing the beach, the whole nine. It was just going to be the greatest week. Somewhere around 61st, 62nd Street. It was at Labor Day week. It was just going to be a great week. It rained for 6 straight days, and it rained all day for 6 straight days. And so we were cooped up in this, 9 of us, I guess, in this 4-bedroom whatever condo. Big place, big space, but we were still sort of cooped up inside.
What happened? A hurricane come up the coast or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, but this is a very positive comment on Debbie, because of all of us, she was the one who every day would always say, "Well, we're all together." And would always plan something into. She kept it fun. I would not have that skill.
You just drank.
Oh, I did.
I did that anyway.
But I'm not allowed to start till noon.
This segment of the program is brought to you by the Washington Nationals. They kick off a 9-game homestand with 2 games against the Mets, July 31 and August 1 at Nationals Park. Come out and celebrate U.S. Marine Corps Day at the ballpark on July 31. Take the long lunch break with a noon start time on the 1st and visit nationals.com for tickets. My nephew, the Marine, is in a year, tells me he's going to get moved to Quantico for 3 years. He's right now in, North Carolina at Camp Lejeune, I guess it is. And he said he's looking for a place to stay and wanted to know if I knew any real estate agents in the area because everything's so pricey. He's trying to find a place to live. And that got me to thinking, with our people who are in the service when they get stationed to places like the D.C. suburbs where the cost of living is so expensive. They really don't make enough money to be able to move to these places.
I thought they got a housing allowance when they moved to an expensive place.
They do.
That would match the economy of that local place. Because I know federal...
They do, but it doesn't.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I know the federal employees, like my son-in-law, he gets an extra, and probably your wife too.
Yeah,
you get a little bit of extra because you're in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah, absolutely. And that includes this area here.
It does, because Ed and Laura live in Hedgesville, and he still gets it. Still gets that little extra dough. Now they're thinking about going to Hawaii. Yeah, but he might get transferred.
To move?
He might.
Ed and Laura could move?
He might get transferred to Hawaii.
Wow.
And so he's really not on my good list right now. He's going to take her away from me and move to Hawaii.
On the other hand,
I'm just not real happy about that. I got to tell you.
I
won't talk to her. But she wanted to bring it up the other night when she's over. I said I don't want to talk about it.
I mean nothing against the good people of Hedgesville or the lovely town, but if they move to Hawaii and you go to visit them, you're visiting them in Hawaii.
Well, that's true. But how often will that happen?
And while Hawaii and Hedgesville
on my radio salary
both begin with H's, there is a difference.
There's the other things, they got to live their life. So, it is what it is.
We would miss them, though.
We would.
Fine people.
Yeah, they would. And they'd have to get up very early in the morning to listen to us.
I understand our intern is missing today.
Savon Hunter is not here. I've looked over there several times through the window in the newsroom. She is not there. However, I have a theory.
What's your theory?
She was here all 5 days last week, like a trooper, here all 5 days. On your first day back, she's not here. So I'm thinking she's afraid of you. You've done something to make her afraid of you.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that with you here, she figured she'd better be here to help save the show. But with me back, she's probably thinking the show will be fine. I don't need to be there.
Is that what you think?
That's the way I'm looking at this one. That's kind of the way I'm reading it.
I'm happy that you had a good time and that you brought your ego back with you. I think that's a good thing.
The 5th annual Bulldog Classic Golf Tournament has been postponed until August 6th. This comes directly from head coach David Walker, who's also the athletic director of Martinsburg.
Was that supposed to be today?
I think it was.
Oh, yeah. Bad day to golf.
So it's not now. It's August 6th. So let's say good morning to Miss Aimee. Aimee Peters from the Pizza Oven. Good morning, Aimee. How are you?
Good morning.
This is, what did you say, National Ice Cream Day or something?
I looked it up. It was it's National Vanilla Ice Cream Day, not just any ice cream.
Oh, it has to be. They all have their flavors. I mean, there's probably National Chocolate Day and Strawberry Day.
Yeah.
Did you bring a sample with you?
I did, but it melted between
just our luck.
My car and here.
Right.
So it became Milkshake Day.
It was, Milkshake Day.
Hey, Aimee.
Yes, sir.
That was really quick.
I
Congratulations.
tried.
That was quick thinking.
It was
raining.
Like that. It's raining so hard out there. I was like.
It is raining hard.
I mean, really, really hard.
It was pouring. It's been doing that for hours.
I thought you were just exaggerating when I heard you this morning talk about how bad it was.
Could you hear it? I could hear it inside the building.
It's awful.
On Friday, all I heard from any weather forecaster, including our own Bob, was that it was going to rain for the next 9 days.
That's true. All the way up until August the 3rd.
Starting on last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday I get up, getting ready to go to church and all that, and I get back around 9:15. It's beautiful out. It's absolutely beautiful morning yesterday. So I got and did some yard work. Well, by 1, 2 o'clock, it became all poopy again, right? Clouded over and started raining again. And then at 6, 7 o'clock, it was nice again. I couldn't figure yesterday out.
I was at a Saturday at 4. They have a mass at St. Peter's in Deep Creek Catholic Church there, where they actually have optional outdoor seating.
That's really nice.
I've not seen this before, where they have sliding glass doors on the side walls of the church, and you can slide the glass door and go outside and sit on the benches out there and participate in the Mass from outside the church.
I think that's what's great about churches that are located in vacation destinations, because there's something similar that my husband and I happened upon at Bethany Beach one year, and I saw signs. We were there a couple of days prior to, and we saw signs that said church on the beach. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I'm like, we should check that out. So, we went out the next morning, and it was exactly that. We took our camp chairs and you set up, and they had a little coffee bar set up, and the preacher preached a sermon, and they had little papers with like the hymnals on it, and the preacher played the guitar, and we sang hymns, and he gave a sermon, and it was beautiful. Yes. And like, the sun was coming up and the waves, I mean, it was just beautiful. Yeah. So Yeah, makes you kind of wish you lived at the beach.
I remember the first time I went to a beach Catholic church. I remember the priest was wearing flip flops underneath his alb. Yeah, that's cool.
Well,
He probably has his bathing
guess.
suit on under there.
Maybe he had.
That's what I was thinking.
Do Catholics baptize? I was
Yes,
like, maybe
we
he had to baptize that day.
Perhaps, yeah.
And
Possible.
Or he had just gotten out of the shower. I don't know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
I'm just trying to get my arms around. Never mind.
Speaking of vacations, cocktails for canines. Speaking
Yes.
of vacation.
Which is the whole reason I was here. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have this event coming up. It is a fundraiser for the Berkeley County Humane Society. This is our 3rd annual year. Each year that we do it, we normally pick a different date. So it's never the same date of the year. It's never the same location. We kind of wanted to sort of showcase different venues throughout Berkeley County if we're able to. So we missed last year, so this is still the 3rd year that we've done it, although there was a little void in 2017 because we were trying to lock down a good venue. So we did, and we're having it at Boydville, historic Boydville Mansion in Martinsburg. I think the official name is the Inn at Boydville. So it is an evening filled with music, entertainment. We have unlimited wine and beer as well as non-alcoholic beverages for our designated drivers or for those who don't drink but still want to come and have fun, in the evening. There are 12 different restaurants, local restaurants that will be participating. They'll be bringing some appetizers and hors d'oeuvres and some savory samples of whatever they have on their menu that they would like to offer our guests. That's all included. There are artisans, some different vendors, crafters that make things specifically geared towards pet owners and animal lovers. There's a huge silent auction. We've got gifts that have been given to us from several businesses and individuals all across the county. There's a photo booth. We have a dog kissing booth. There's just all kinds of...
A dog kissing booth?
Yeah.
Oh.
What is the dog to be kissed?
The dog that we've had the last 2 years, he unfortunately passed away about a year ago. So there is a new dog, and I've not met this one yet. So I'm really excited.
He died of mononucleosis.
I'm really excited
from
to meet
kissing
him.
everybody.
I
at these
love
events.
dog kisses. So, and you just pay $1, and all that money goes to the Humane Society. And so,
can I back you up a second?
Sure.
Okay, so I've not participated in a dog kissing. Are you
I think
kissing?
we're onto something here. We are definitely onto something here.
Are you kissing the dog, or is the dog licking your face?
I think, well, it's a little bit of both. So the dog, I
There's
guess.
not just one kind of dog, Rob. They
Sure,
all kiss,
there's different.
They kiss differently.
Yeah, they're all different.
But most just
You know?
lick your face.
Some will lick you, like if you want to turn, I guess it will lick your cheek, or I happen to be a dog kisser. Like I will kiss dogs, so much so that my husband's always like, get your face, away from that dog's
Disinfected?
mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah, disinfected.
Because
I guess he's afraid that I'm going to
the same
get bitten.
dog that when it goes in my yard cleans itself with that same tongue. Is this the face you're kissing?
There are different types of dog lovers. Now,
don't evade the question.
any
now.
dog-
Don't evade the question. What's the answer? Is this the same?
It is
not
the
here to be
same.
grilled by
Is this the same
It
tongue?
is the same tongue.
Okay.
However,
But that dog that goes in your yard is not going to be at this event, so you have nothing to worry
Bill
about.
Kearns know about this from the health department. Is he aware of this?
I hope he doesn't have people out on patrol whenever this is going on.
listen, the dog is very far away from the food, so there's no.
I'm not talking
There's
about the
no
dog and the
issue
food
there.
here.
Well, that's what they care about.
Yeah.
So that's what they care about. So
Anyway, we're going to have a dog. And it's not a contest. It's just
it is not a contest.
Okay.
No, it's not.
We're
like
not
you can
judging
get-
what
no.
dog has the best kissing.
No, actually, this dog will be the only dog there because of our
Lucky
permit
dog-
and our health
lucky
department
dog.
permit. Yeah, so he's there just as a vendor,
And he'll kiss you or you'll kiss him.
Exactly.
And actually, there should be a tryout for this position. I don't think just
We
one
did have
dog.
auditions.
You did,
No, just
okay.
kidding.
I don't think you should just pick one dog. They should have to try out for this.
No, Aimee awarded the dog the
I
job.
think that is a terrible kisser.
Because I know that my dog's not a kisser, so he would be a terrible dog to take. He just is not into kissing.
Right. Well, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
So for $1, you get to go to the dog kissing booth, and it's your option. The dog
Oh
licks
my
your
gosh!
face, or
How
you
did we
kiss
get
the
on
dog.
this subject? There's so much more to talk
You
about.
brought
than
it
this.
up.
I
We're
know,
the one that
but-
mentioned it.
But just let's move on, shall we? Okay.
Let's talk about the
You'd like
restaurant.
that, wouldn't you?
Let's talk about the restaurant. Let's talk about the restaurant.
Yes, let's do. So we have about 12 different restaurants, some individually owned, some larger chain restaurants, because they each bring, again, something from their menu that they think that our guests will enjoy. So obviously the pizza oven will be there, first and foremost.
That's you.
That is
And
us,
Mark.
yes. So then we also have Boyd's Steakhouse, Chesapeake Crab Company, which is now called Mother Shuckers, I believe.
Be careful.
Okay, I know. You know, you're the second DJ to tell me that,
You
but I did
paused.
say that. I did say Shuckers.
You paused. You're good.
Olive Garden, Outback Steakhouse, Panera, Chick-fil-A, Ruby Tuesday, Buffalo Wild Wings, Panda Express. So you see a lot of the bigger companies, and then also Mountaineer Meat Smokers. And he's also bringing some Mountaineer popcorn and Mission popcorn and Mission pickles. So I believe that's all involved. So all of those are there. So those are all of our restaurants. Plus we have 2 more that we are still waiting to hear back from. So hopefully they will sign their information and get it back to us before that evening. And so there's, like I said, unlimited wine and beer. We'll have tea and sodas and all kinds of other, lemonades and summery type drinks as well. And it's going to be beautiful. It's the event starts at 7 p.m. So for those who were able to get VIP tickets, it'll start a little earlier. It'll start at 6 p.m. And we have a jazz trio that will be playing for that first hour. Then at 7 p.m. is the general admission. Tickets can be purchased at the door. However, we do recommend that people get their tickets ahead of time because we do have a limited number available. So we always say buy your tickets early. Make sure you get them.
And what's the date on that?
Saturday, August the 4th.
I've got a promotional for you for this one. This is to raise money.
I am so scared.
Totally raise money.
You had it in your head?
You got snow cones, right? Mm-hmm. And lemonade flavored, make them yellow. And then you play that song in the background, Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow. And this is going to be a huge fundraiser for you. And it's my idea for you for free.
This is why he's in radio and not marketing, I think. That's why they put him on the mic instead of...
I guarantee you, if you adopt this idea, it will sell out. You will not be able to keep the shave ice in stock.
We're just super excited. All of the money...
You just glossed right by
I
my
did.
idea. I gave that to you for free.
I know. I have to move on. Because there's just... I don't know where to go
Let's
with
do
that.
something with Who Let the Dogs Out. We could do that.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Right?
You could do that.
Well, we think of every dog song we know.
But we could.
You're glossing by that Frank Zappa song, which would be a great marketing tool to raise money. Just think about it. Think about it.
It would be an attention getter, that's for sure.
You can see Rob there, with his little yellow snow cone stand, handing out snow cones.
Do you think Rob should have stayed another week in vacation?
I'm just saying. Marketing.
I love Deep Creek. So.
See? I mean...
but I think that, most people who come, obviously they already are animal lovers. And it's even though the event is called Cocktails for Canines, it benefits the Humane Society Spay Neuter Clinic, which, helps both dogs and cats. So a lot of times people are like, oh, but I'm a cat person. I'm a cat lover. And I'm like, look, this event helps all of the animals. And actually, when it boils down to it, it probably helps cats more so than dogs because there's such an overpopulation of cats.
You could call it Cocktails for Cats and Canines.
But that's too long.
Okay. All right. That's what you think.
But I appreciate
He was trying. He's not as good at marketing and coming with ideas as I am, but he's working on it.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to get up there. I'm trying to rise to that occasion.
Or sink, as the case may be. It depends.
So I think that, ultimately we are trying to spread awareness about the shelter. That seems very cliche, but they do more than just adopt out dogs and cats. So there's a larger need in the community for the spaying and the neutering. They also do microchipping and they do rabies vaccinations and that sort of thing. So there's just... I don't think the community at large just kind of knows what all they do. So it's just kind of to help, the awareness of that. It's a good way for people who don't have the time or possibly the means to be able to donate large sums of money. They can still be part of something that ends up being one of the largest fundraisers for the shelter, if not the largest.
Cocktails for Canines, August the 4th.
Yep. So this, in conjunction with the Christmas 5K that we do in December, are two of the largest single donation fundraisers that they get.
And that's at the beginning of December.
It is. It's the first Sunday in December.
So that's like 4 months away.
December 2nd. Yes.
Think about that for a second.
I know.
Right?
It's going to be here before you know it.
You're going to have pizza there, though, right?
We do have pizza there, along with about 1,300 runners this year.
Oh. Will that be a record?
Yeah, that will be a record. Yeah, we've partnered up with SVR, so that's going to be a huge 5K this year.
SVR?
So Shenandoah Valley Runners. They're based out of Winchester, however, encompasses the entire Shenandoah Valley. So we're really, really excited about that. A little nervous, but mostly excited.
Why would you be nervous?
It's just a lot of people to manage. It's a lot.
What was the number the first year you did that run?
The very first year, 10 years ago, it was 180 something. It was just shy of 200.
Oh my goodness! What is it? The SVR partnership that's made the numbers jump like this, or are you attracting people from outside the area now, or what?
Last year we had just under 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So SVR, what ends up happening? They do a winter series race that starts the first Saturday in December, and it runs through the entire winter, and it's a race every other weekend. So their race always is on the Saturday, and ours is always the first Sunday. So a lot of times runners or walkers have to decide, do I want to do this one or this one? They have to choose between the two. Or, if they're really adamant, they do both. And some are just like, well, I'm going to run this one kind of slow, but then, I'm going to bust this one out and run this one really fast and try to win. And, so we felt like just partnering would just make it stronger, that, that way people can enjoy one race, they get the benefit of being part of SVR, but then we actually become that first SVR race, that first Shenandoah Valley Runners race.
When we last spoke with you, we were talking about some fairly new dessert that was on your menu at the Pizza Oven. I don't remember what the name of it is. What's the name of it?
It's the Gilligan's Island Pie, and I knew you were going to bring this up. I knew it.
Okay.
I knew it.
Is that bad though?
No,
did you discontinue it or something?
No, it just
you
means
seem like
that
you're upset that he brought it up.
That's because
Aimee, I don't understand.
That's because I was going to bring it this morning, but it was raining really hard, and I am a fair weather friend. Okay, let's just get that out there in the open first and foremost. Like,
I appreciate that.
I mean, I like you guys, but
okay. So from now on, we'll only schedule you on sunny days.
On sunny days, please.
Yeah. Okay,
I'll
that
check
would
the
be
weather.
lovely.
In this case, we'd have to delay you 9 days, which would be pushing it.
It would be. Yeah, and the reason that I'm here, obviously, is so that anyone who is listening who would like to either attend this event or be a part of it in some way, shape, or form, or knows someone who either has a love of dogs or wine and beer and music,
kissing dogs,
that this is definitely going to be the event for you. So there's lots of fun things to do. It's a good, relaxing evening. We kind of transform that entire back garden of Boydville into, I like to call it a Midsummer's Night Dream.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, sounds nice, right? So it's Engine Number 9 is going to be our headlining band, and then we also have a DJ. We're doing this Afterglow dance party towards the end of the event. So for those who want to shake their tail feather.
What sort of music does Engine Number 9 play?
They're mostly, it's hard for me to put a genre on that. It's easy listening, but not like 70s easy listening. It's like very, think violin, cello, guitar, just, it's
Strings.
Good music. Oh yeah, good music, and drums, but I think they just do a variety. They do a lot of their own stuff, but if I had to guess, it's more of it's not classic rock, but it's not rock. I don't know what the genre would be considered.
Well, let's go back to something you know a lot about, though, which is the Gilligan's Island Pie.
Oh, my gosh.
I need you to describe
what
this
is
pie
in a
again.
Gilligan's Island Pie?
Okay, so it is a graham cracker.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With we put some caramel and chocolate and coconut and pecans.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's it. And we bake it, and it's served warm. With a big giant scoop of vanilla ice cream.
Which is, of course, today.
With chocolate and caramel sauce on top.
Illinois.
Yeah, melts in your mouth.
A little
it's
Cool Whip or
delicious.
something on top of that, too?
No, you don't need Cool Whip. That just distracts you from the deliciousness of it all.
Do you think that because 2 pieces would have been fine? You didn't have to bring in the whole pie.
Right.
Just 2 pieces would have been
It was raining
fine.
really
They
hard.
do make covers for food.
Yeah, they have
But
Tupperware.
not for me. Do you know how hard it is?
No.
You should have seen me coming in the front door here today.
Do you know how hard it is to listen to that about that pie and not have any? That's what's hard.
Between my coffee and my umbrella and my notebook, and it was a lot. So yeah, I didn't want to drop it.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. That's cool. And you can get.
You're
this
just gonna have to
pie.
have me on again. That's all. I mean, and I'll bring you whatever you want.
There's the door
how's
right
that?
there, and it's always open for you.
Always open.
Always open.
One of these days I am going to do that. I'm just going to pop in and just say, hey, what are you guys talking about
You should
today?
run for office. Actually, you'd be a good
No,
candidate.
no.
You'd be a great candidate.
I'd be a terrible
You're
politician.
very articulate. You like to share
I'm
your
very
thoughts.
opinionated and I'm bossy, I hear.
You like
Who
new
tells
marketing
you that?
ideas?
Who tells you that?
Everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
She's really bossy.
So people who work for you say that?
Oh, they all do. Everybody. my friends. Like, nobody even wants to be my friend because I put them to work. So, like, whenever we have events like this, people are like, it's easier to, like, not be friends with Mark and Aimee because they just, that's what we don't have any friends because
you make them work.
We make them do things, and they're just like, gosh, it's just easier. Just our friend Hans.
We don't have any friends because we never show up.
Our friend, yeah, right. Like, we need help moving this
we'll
fridge.
Be there, then we don't
there.
go.
Our friend Hans says it's easier to run a 5K than to be our friend. It's easier, because he can run it. Yeah, he'd rather go and run than to help us. Which, I mean, he still helps us because we make him. But
have to do a lot of work to be your friend.
There's just it's a lot. We normally try to coerce people into helping us. So yes,
well,
and they love to. They love to help us, and I'm kind of kidding.
I think you'd be a very hard person to say no to. That's what I'm thinking. Because you'd wear the other person down.
I do. It's really just a matter of just wearing people out. Yeah. Until they finally submit.
It's a good trait.
Thanks. I don't know if everyone would agree with you, Dave, but I appreciate that a lot. So.
Well, it's nice to see you again.
Thanks. Are you guys coming to the event?
We'll think about it. The cocktails for canines?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll think about that. How much does it cost?
$40.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. $40, and only until July 25th, which is 3 days away from now. We have
30 seconds.
We have tickets, but go online, go into eventbrite.com, and because we have special tickets that are $250, but all of them are only $40. $40 get you in, get you everything.
All right. Cocktails for Canines, August 4th, the Inn at Boydsville. It's 9 o'clock.
And a dog can kiss you.
WRNR Radio, Talk Radio, WRNR Martinsburg News Break is next.
Frost that bit the ground below was 100 degrees below zero. And my mama cried. Springs.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by TheraWorks Relief.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. President Trump tweets a threat to Iran over that country's vow to fight back if the U.S. reenacts sanctions.
The all-caps tweet was a response to these remarks from Iran's president. Hassan Rouhani warned Mr. Trump not to play with the lion's tail, adding that war with his country would be the mother of all wars. The president advised Rouhani to be cautious because he said, "We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words of violence and death." White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders.
He's not going to allow them to continue to make threats against America. If anybody is inciting anything, look no further than to Iran.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
A second victim has now died after last night's shooting rampage in Toronto. Police say a man dressed in black opened fire in the Greektown neighborhood.
The guy literally is walking down the street, cold-faced, and turns and starts shooting in a restaurant.
Police say the shooting was not random. They don't know yet what the motive was. It's also not clear how the gunman died. City Councilor Paula Fletcher.
It's just unbelievable, actually, in this neighborhood, and you just have to wonder why so many guns.
12 people were wounded. 100-plus degree weather is expected to continue from Houston on up through Southern California. Bob Oravec at the National Weather Service with the forecast for Phoenix tomorrow.
Potential for a record high of 117, and that would break the old record of 116, and a record high of 111 possibly on Tuesday in Tucson.
The dry, hot conditions posing a threat to wild horses in the west and southwest. Live to CBS's Gary Nunn.
Persistent droughts, searing heat, and low snowmelt are making life all but impossible for thousands of horses. Parts of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah especially hard hit. Creek beds dried up, soil parched and rock solid. Volunteer groups are trucking water to grazing areas where there's nothing to keep the animals alive. Most of them skinny, their ribs are exposed. Deborah?
The Coast Guard will try to raise a duck boat from the bottom of a lake in Branson, Missouri this morning as investigators try to figure out just how and why the boat went down in a strong storm last Thursday, killing 17. CBS's Laura Podesta.
The National Transportation Safety Board wants to know what the captain, who's among the dead, knew about the forecasted weather.
Police in Clearwater, Florida say they will not charge a man for killing someone during an argument over a handicapped parking space.
I think what the sheriff had to say, that's totally wrong. It's wrong. He should have did time in jail until the investigation got done with, but he shouldn't be walking these streets right now.
Florida's Stand Your Ground law allows people to respond with deadly force when they believe their own lives are in danger. S&P futures are unchanged. This is CBS News.
To experience relief from foot and leg cramps, use TheraWorks Relief. Get TheraWorks Relief today in the pain relief aisle at your local pharmacy. Ask your pharmacist for TheraWorks Relief. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 job boards with just one click, and then their smart matching technology finds the right candidates. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. To prevent muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. This fast-acting foam is clinically proven to relieve leg and foot cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today at select Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid pharmacies or TheraWorksRelief.com. Ask your pharmacist for TheraWorks Relief.
Hey, Dave, you in for golf this weekend?
I can't. I promised I'd find a plumber to fix a sink and a painter to paint the...
Just use Angie's List.
Doesn't that cost money?
Not at all. It's free to find pros in your area who can do the work. You can even read ratings and reviews from other customers.
What about roofing pros?
Angie's List has pros for everything. And to save time, they'll even match you to the best pros for the job.
Oh, that's awesome. Looks like I'll be able to play after all.
Find the best pros for your next project at Angie's.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. Halfway through the year, there have been fewer deaths in Berkeley County due to drug overdoses when compared with the first 6 months of 2017. 17 as opposed to 31, with no fatal overdoses at all last month. As far as non-fatal overdoses, that number's significantly better this year too, 159 when compared with 314. The statewide numbers, though, are trending the other way, at least through the end of last year. In 2017, for the first time, West Virginia had more than 1,000 fatal overdoses. A judge ordered him to spend at least a decade in prison, followed by 10 years of supervised release for sexually abusing a young girl. 40-year-old Philip Vallejo of Jarrettstown pleading guilty to one charge late last week. The abuse took place between the spring of 2014 and the spring of 2016. And more litter cleanup will be going on this week on Sir Washington and Short Roads, Delmar Orchard, and Ben Speck, so keep a sharp eye out. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
We saw plenty of rain over the weekend here in the eastern panhandle, but we were on the western edge of what was some very heavy rain off to our east. The eastern counties of Maryland and Virginia picked up anywhere from 4 to 6 inches, pretty widespread rainfall totals, as opposed to our 1 and 2 inch rainfall amounts here across the area, which was still plenty, and we've still got some more on the way. Daytime high temperature near 80 this afternoon, looking at more showers and possibly some heavy downpours in thunderstorms, and that's the case on through the evening time with early morning lows near 70. Repeat performance tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms, the high near 80. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
Don't miss your chance to hang out with WVU Mountaineer play-by-play announcer Tony Caridi at the 9th Annual Inside the Huddle event, Friday, August 17th from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the riverfront properties of Terry Hess and Rick Pill at 911 Hoffman Road, Martinsburg, West Virginia. Tickets are just $40 a piece with a wide variety of sponsorship packages. For more information, call 304-263-1832. Don't miss the 9th Annual Inside the Huddle with Tony Caridi, Friday, August 17th.
With 4 new car dealerships and 4 used car dealerships in 3 states, Parsons is the largest used car and fastest growing new car dealer in the tri-state area. Take Parsons Ford with huge savings on hundreds of new Fords, financing from 0%, Parsons' goal of financing for all, and Parsons' famous above market trade-in allowances that help make Parsons #1 for used cars too. See why so many won't buy anywhere but Parsons Ford in Martinsburg. We became #1 by making you #1 first. Parsons.
Welcome back to the show, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, brought to you in this segment by the Joe Ferretti Law Office, delivering first-rate service and results for our clients. The mogul just stopped by to peer in the window. Both he and I guess, were away last week.
I haven't seen either one of you in over a week, and I know that you think about it, because I was out the Friday going to my niece's wedding in Minneapolis. Right. So I haven't seen you since a week ago Thursday. So that's a
10
long
days.
time. Yeah. Something happened over the week that I think I found very interesting, and that is one of the two best golf tournaments of the year, the British Open, the other one being the Masters. And that, as you well know, Tiger Woods did better than he had done in a long time. And in fact, it was the first time that he had a solo lead at a major, one of the majors, since 2009, if you can believe that. It later sort of fell apart, and he finished 6th. But I thought, that poor Italian, Rob, that wins...
Francesco Molinari.
He wins the British Open, first Italian ever to win the British Open. And what are all the headlines today? Tiger Woods finished 6th. It's the only sport that I can think of, the only event where the guy that comes in 6th actually gets better headlines, more coverage than the person who actually wins it.
And this is just another case of my fellow Paisans not getting the credit that they deserve.
Well, that's right. And speaking of fellow Paisans, I ran into Bob Rizzo, if he's listening today, at Mass on Sunday morning, and he asked me to ask my Pittsburgh wife if she knew how to make something. And Bob, I'm just telling you, I forgot. So text it to me or email it to me or whatever it is, or call in and tell us what it was.
Was it a meat dish?
It was something that you would know about, but he wasn't going to tell me what it was.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Was it Italian?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
So he asked me to ask Debbie if she knew what it was. I said, well, Rob will know. And he said, well, Rob will know, but you don't. So
was it a red sauce
I don't know.
Production?
I don't know. I don't know anything. He just asked me to ask her if she knew about it. And so I forgot. I want to do that. I said I would, and I'd ask Rob about it too, but I don't know what it is. So it had a one of those names of a dish with an O or something at the end of it. And
oh, that one.
That one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Spaghetti-O.
My neighbor tried to give my when my boys were young, she gave them Chef Boyardee out of a can. My kid comes home.
Oh, my
God. And he says to me, Dad, can we get Chef Boyardee? Like, what? I had to go visit her and tell her.
Oh, I know. I know you have an aversion to that.
We don't do
like
this.
Crazy.
We don't do spaghetti out of a can.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You don't get your sauce out of a jar. No good self-respecting Italian gets his sauce out of a jar on something.
You didn't even like
unless you jarred it yourself.
You didn't even like it when I was bringing food in for the backpack program. That day we give food to them to take back, and I brought in SpaghettiOs or ravioli or something out of a can. You were upset that I brought that in for the kids. I said the kids are going to love this.
Don't get me started.
Okay.
I tried to preach to you. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You don't listen long enough. You have short attention span.
I do not.
That's what I said.
What did you say?
I'd respond, but I wasn't listening for the end of the question. Let's bring in on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line Rob Cornelius, the Republican chair in Wood County, and he's lately been one of our frequent and favorite guests. Rob, good morning to you. Thanks for being with us.
Morning, gentlemen. And Rob, I want to help you with that cookie table or whatever Pittsburgh thing you guys are doing that's Italian. That's what I'm hearing all the talk about right now. Just cookies on a table. Sounds delicious.
Are you Italian in any relations, Rob?
My name is. My family really doesn't cook that way or cook that well, so I've never really been immersed in it. Grew up in Clarksburg, but again, we had to borrow other people's food because my family. Oddly, my mom's a home ec teacher and is not an amazing cook, so it's very weird juxtaposition.
I'm sorry to hear that. My niece.
She knows.
My niece Ava Marie is getting married in October. Mm-hmm. And I spent my vacation last week. My sister and her husband came and spent a few days with us. And I said, I got just one question for you. Is there going to be a cookie table? Because it's a Pittsburgh wedding. Is there going to be a cookie table? My brother-in-law said, of course. It's going to be the hugest cookie table you've ever seen. It's going to be like the entire length of the wall, which was like the one at my wedding. And that's, if you're getting married in Pittsburgh, you have to have a cookie table.
You do.
That's the rule.
Absolutely.
And when I went to my first Northern Virginia wedding and there was no cookie table, I was like, what is this? There's no cookie table. And they said, we don't do that in Northern Virginia.
It's like a tasting buffet. Selena Zito is making that nationally relevant. I suggest you guys have her on and talk about politics of zero and just talk about cookie tables.
All right. Give me your number. I'll put her on tomorrow, baby.
Done. You're found.
Rob, I know you were very busy along with the county GOP chairs across the state. And you guys recently all got together and came up with, is it what you'd call the platform of the party going forward?
Well, platform is done in the presidential year. So we did that in, June of 16. But this year you basically come together elect a new state chairman, bring in all the new people that were elected on the spring ballot. The folks are now on make up the state committee, because that recycles in the off year, 2018, 2022. And vote on whatever things you need to do. And we did that in Wheeling a couple weekends ago, actually.
Yeah, and what do you call it when you come up with the items that are important to the party in a non-presidential election year?
We called them resolutions. We had 3 of those that went up in front of the party on that Saturday, and the first one was big. Was actually pretty easy to get past. And we talked about it before we were on the show a few weeks ago. Republican Party is on the books completely supporting Amendment 1, which is the amendment on the fall ballot that makes taxpayer funding of abortions in state virtually impossible now. Basically, you've had the state paying for Medicaid abortions, paying for elective abortions over the years, when only 17 states that does. And if this passes, that's essentially defunded, and the bulk of that will be going away after the fall ballot. So
you're recommending that people vote yes on the ballot initiative for Amendment 1?
Yeah, absolutely. Amendment 1. I brought that resolution to the table there and read it, and it passed unanimously on a voice vote. That really wasn't close at all. That's pretty much an automatic. And part of it was, I think we talked about this on the show prior, the state Democrat Party had a similar meeting in June and kept it very, very, very secret. No media coverage, no press release. Why? Because they passed an amendment or passed a resolution doing exactly the opposite thing. The West Virginia Democrat Party is now on the books being against Amendment 1, which means they are absolutely for all the taxpayer-funded Medicaid abortions you want. Have them all.
Okay. And what was what was the next resolution that the GOP came up with at your meeting?
Well, and that's what we talked about a while back. In our county, we had passed a resolution asking for the impeachment of public officials who were in violation of the law, the state constitution, and whatnot, obviously including the governor and members of the Supreme Court. And we brought a resolution to the floor at the state party meeting in Wheeling back 2 Saturdays ago to do the same thing. It was fairly, honestly, softened up, fairly vaguely worded. We had some people who were concerned it was too specific to the governor or to certain people. So it's very much any public official is in violation of this section of the Constitution, Article 4, Section 9, and listed a bunch of parts of the Republican platform, asking for ethical conduct, good service in government, blah, blah, blah. And that was tabled immediately after I read it and proposed it by the body. On the instruction of our state chairman. State chairman apparently put out instructions that week to everyone to table whatever I was going to present. And after I presented the anti-abortion one, we teed that one up, and it disappeared faster than you could snap your fingers.
Why?
Honestly, I believe that the governor is all of a sudden exerting substantial influence on our party. He sent 5 members of his office staff. He couldn't bother to attend himself, but 5 members of his office staff to attend our meeting, monitor it, and ensure that that happened. They sat in the back. Mike Hall, Ann Erling, who ran for treasurer, Rebecca Blaine, Bray Carey even attended, though I had him removed because he is not a Republican, so he was not actually able to attend the meeting, so he had to sit in the hall and play games on his phone. But
that's what Welch does during the show.
Nothing wrong with that.
Fine, I do it too. It's impolite, but like when I'm on the radio, I'll be watching other games on TV. I don't even pay attention.
It's called duplexing.
Yeah.
Multitasking. Yeah. I have 8 screens in my living room.
And women do it much better than men,
You have 8 screens?
They're much more subtle. They can get away with it. Yeah, 8 screens. I've got a ton of TVs, computer monitors. I'm kind of a little ADD on this stuff. So used to directable TV, so I'm used to it.
All right,
so it's fine.
8 screens. That's
sounds a little geeky to me.
What happened was a little bit. A few weeks back, our state chair had a talk with me and said quite clearly, I don't have a vote, but I won't stop you. I will support you doing this resolution on impeachments and against the governor. And also said that she would not accept donation from the governor. The governor promised the state party a maximum donation last year, about 10 months ago, $22,000. And that apparently finally came the week before this meeting. And it was celebrated from the podium that we received this $22,000 from the governor. And then all of a sudden her approach was very, very, very different as to the issue of impeachments. And the issue is really, look, if you want to get in bed with the governor or whatever, despite his behavior, go to it. You're the chairman for 4 years. That's your game. You can do whatever you want. But the problem is you now have the party on the record refusing to condemn anyone who's already been impeached. Essentially, by voting against this, you're saying No, I'm not really worried about Alan Lafferty or Menace Ketchum or all these guys. And obviously the impeachment thing moved along a lot further last week. There's a lot more to talk about with that. You're going to see 4 out of the 5 judges go down. I feel pretty confident in saying that by now.
Rob, I need
yeah.
clarification. You're kind of going real fast. I need clarification.
Yeah.
This resolution that the members was there a vote? Was there an actual vote on the impeachment amendment?
They voted to table.
They voted to table. And so you're saying now that there could be criticism directed toward the Republican Party of West Virginia that they refused to endorse a resolution that would have condemned the, if you will, behavior of Alan Lafferty and others on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and I can read you the trenchant paragraph. Resolve the State Committee of Western Republican Party supports the appropriate impeachment of any elected or appointed official whose actions violate Article 4, Section 9 of the West Virginia Constitution, seeking conviction by standard of clear and convincing evidence. It basically just restates the platform and the Constitution and the part up to that. That's it.
Rob, are you saying...
This is something that should have passed unanimously, but people were told to not touch it at all.
Now, you had said that the GOP chairwoman, Melody Potter, had told you ahead of time that she would not get in your way in terms of getting this passed, but then after a conversation with the governor, changed her mind?
Well, after $22,000, I think, got deposited, is what Rob is saying.
That's what it was. On June 27th, Melody went to a meeting with the governor where she left in anger after being insulted by the governor and Bray Carey and others in attendance there, and called me a couple of days later, and we spoke about it for about 40 minutes. And she was very, very clear. The governor will never treat me that way again. I will never take a check from that man. I will not take his bribe. He offered her a low-numbered license plate, which is a silly bribe governors can offer in this state, and told me to go ahead with what I was doing.
What does that mean, a low-numbered license plate?
It means
low-numbered license plate, basically, license plate numbers 1 through, I believe, 1,000 or 2,000 are handed out by the chief executive at any point as essentially a prize. That's the best way to put it. And the lower number you have, the more important you are, the closer you are to the governor. Number 34 was actually originally directed for Joe Manchin, who was the 34th governor. But she was offered license plate 34 by the governor in this meeting. She refused it at the time, did exactly the right thing.
What is it? Is it on her car now, though?
Pardon? No.
Okay.
It was she still has her own in God We Trust plate, to my knowledge. I haven't seen her lately. I have not seen the Volvo in the past week. But the big picture is this. On June 27, June 29, she was all on board. I don't know what's happened since other than that check. And frankly, I don't know if it's cleared or not.
So what you're alleging then, here's what you're alleging, Rob. You're alleging that there was going to be a vote on it. The chairwoman had promised you there would be a vote on it. Then five top members, my goodness, it doesn't get higher than that, appear at the state committee, and $22,000 is contributed, and the resolution was never voted on. So,
it was tabled immediately, correct, on the instruction of the chairman, and we believe that's on the instruction of the governor.
Okay, and so the governor does hold a lot of sway over if he could send 5 members down to the convention and basically say, we don't want this to come to the floor for a vote. The governor apparently has a lot of clout in the Republican Party.
Well, it's funny, though. Earlier in the meeting, there was a vote. There are 3 offices that are elected during the meeting that are essentially at-large members of the state committee. And the governor was nominated to fill one of those, along with another man who'd been on the committee for several years. The governor lost to that man, who wasn't in attendance, a very nice retired man from my county, by a vote of 74-0. So I hesitate to say the governor is popular in any sense, but I believe that this was directed to the chair and from the chair to the members to not take this up in any fashion. And again, whether you're for or against the governor, the Democrats have done a very strong job from jump of saying we are absolutely for the impeachment of bad elected officials, starting with Alan Lafferty. The Republican Party should be as well, period.
Well, that's
really the mistake here.
The Republicans, though, that I talked to here in the Eastern Panhandle all seem to think that Alan Lafferty did wrong and probably should, have to go through this process, either resign or go through the process. So I don't know of any Republican here in the Eastern Panhandle that's actually supporting Alan Lafferty.
Correct. But the party, essentially, by failing to take this up, you could say the party is on board with that. And that's kind of the weird thing is you've got 2 judges, you've got 1 already impeached, you've got 1 who's already quit, you've got 2 more that are under investigation by this impeachment committee, and frankly, they're doing a great job, and it's really kind of spreading out. I mean, you've got a situation where the Supreme Court's now actively trying to keep media from even taking a tour of the offices. Last week was amazing to watch in terms of the level of entitlement and the behavior of that Supreme Court, and that's just getting worse. But, yeah, the Republican Party should absolutely be condemning Alan Lawfrey, whether we, supported him originally or not, which I certainly did. I was a donor. But I'll tell you, we have work to do, and if we're serious about cleaning up government, we have to condemn those who screw up, period.
We're talking with Rob Cornelius. He is the GOP chair in Wood County and our guest on the WVU Medicine Berkeley Medical Center talk line. Rob, you mentioned you thought 4 of the 5 justices for sure now were going down. We had heard estimates that 2 for sure people thought were going down and 2 others could. You're putting the other 2, and that'd be Workman and Davis. I presume you're exempting Walker on your list. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say for the time being, she's frankly not been there very long, not been there long enough to do a whole lot of nonsense. People are going to complain about redecorating, cost remodeling stuff, and all that. Robin Davis, the issue for her is going to be an issue of optics. What she's done, she's a very, very rich lady who has then spent a bunch of state money, but also, use state resources as part of political travel. The story that was told in the impeachment hearing last week. Discussed how there's a state trooper, a security officer for the court that often will accompany the members to public events. And literally, she flew her plane to Wheeling. He had to drive there, meet her. She then flew to Parkersburg. He drove to Parkersburg to meet her. It was just very, how should I put this? It was not a West Virginia taste. People are going to find that a bit, too rich for their blood. People are going to find her, they're going to find her unpleasant. So whether her crimes are that big dollar value or that big criminally, the optics of this are going to be she's going to look entitled and look spoiled, and she's going to make a very easy next target. And as for Workman, it's interesting. I know Mike Folk, I think, has been on this show a couple times before. The problem for her is going to be records and statements on the record and what's been said that may not cross with what's in documents. And the question is whether she's been honest completely in a lot of things that have been filed in this investigation. So for lawyers, the rules are different. Being honest is incredibly important if you're an officer of the court, and that's why the standard's a little different. So this doesn't look as obvious as the Lawfrey problem, but I think Davis and Workman are in real trouble here.
Rob, what do you know and what can you share with us about the process based on going forward in terms of appointments and re-elections? Can you fill in the blanks there for us?
Okay, well, the first one is the Menace Ketchum already resigned, and he was, in everyone's mind, the second investigation, but he quit first. There will be an election for judge. It will be on this fall ballot. It will be nonpartisan, but it will be on the fall ballot. Now, technically,
so that's for sure. Regardless of when the governor appoints him, he has to go up for re-election. Okay.
Right. That one is up for re-election. The thing about it is, Menace's seat was to be up again, or would have been up for real in 2020. So whoever runs for that seat needs to be in position financially, in their career, in their time, and in their ability to run and win essentially 2 races in 20 months.
So I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone earlier this morning at my gym who I consider to be very knowledgeable on these things, and he said to me that if the governor picks someone to fill the Ketchum seat after his resignation is official on July 27th, that he would be in that office until the term of Menace Ketchum ends, which is 2 years from now, and would not have to be up for re-election or for election this November.
No, that is not correct.
Okay.
If there's any more than 2 years left on a term, you are forced by law to have an election of some sort. Nobody can serve as an interim or a substitute teacher for any more than 2 years. And they've done something similar with the governor's office as well. So someone will be here for ostensibly the short, someone will be appointed, someone will be then elected for 18 to 20, and then someone will be elected again in 20 to the same seat. But it's important you have someone, whoever you put on the ballot, that can run and win hopefully twice, and that's really the issue. If any
you
of
mean
these
running
seats
twice?
open,
You mean this November and 2 years from now? You're saying?
Well, and when I say 2 years from now, that would be, of course, the primary in 20. It's a nonpartisan now, so you have to run in November of 18 and May of 20. So essentially, you have 2 elections to win in 18, 19 months.
Would getting the appointment by the governor be a liability or an asset? I would imagine it's an asset because you have name ID there, but a liability because people don't like the governor.
I don't think there'd be a lot of name ID to it. You wouldn't have that long to develop it, and there aren't going to be that many decisions in the meantime. As far as I'm concerned, if the governor makes the wrong appointment and gets someone who then flips on right to work, well, that's certainly something someone could campaign on from the D side if that's what they did. But that's really my fear of that situation.
So if
bigger picture, yeah.
So if Lawfrey then, let's say, gets impeached and he gets convicted by the Senate, and it's after August the 14th, governor appoints to that seat, that judge who just got appointed would not have to stand for election in November, correct? Because it would be too late. That he would run or she would run.
Then the election for that seat would happen in 2020.
I see. Okay, thanks.
So that's kind of where we were going to have 2 elections in 2020 regardless, because there were 2 seats up that were 12 years old in the 2008 election, and that was Workman and Ketchum.
We could have 4 now. We could end up having 4 in 2020.
Potentially, we would have 4. Yes, we would have up to 4, which is mind blowing. Because again, this entire court's been predicated on these incremental moves, one at a time, to get the court from ultra left to at least the middle, and you could have a full reversal of the court, and that's probably what the Republican Party should be most concerned about, or at least conservatives in the state, regardless of how they're registered, should be concerned about a situation where this entire thing could flip very, very quickly.
Rob,
and again, the trust is not there for this governor to preserve what the Republican legislature's done. The governor's on the record with his lawyers as being against right to work, and I believe any appointee he selects would be a danger to flip that.
Rob Cornelius is our guest on the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center talk line. Is there a concern that if this state loses 4 Supreme Court justices this quickly, it could have an adverse effect on business and a potential business moving to this state?
Absolutely. I mean, you guys are involved in the news. I'm about as involved in public politics as anybody, and I'm having a really hard time telling you what 4 people I would run that can win 4 seats. I don't know. The bench isn't there, and that's really the difference. We've tended to develop candidates and develop them from outside the bench. I mean, if you go down the next level, you say, well, who should run that can move up from the circuit judge? Well, out of the 75 or 76 circuit judges in the state, only I believe 12 or 13 right now are reliably Republican, and there's a few more that you could call a reliably conservative vote. I know they're nonpartisan now, but it's not like there's this deep bench. As much as we've fixed things running statewide and fixed and turned right the state house and state senate, the court side and the courthouses, the county offices are still very weak in a lot of places. So it's not like we have 20 guys ready to run for these, men or women ready to run for these 3 or 4 seats. I'm going to be excited if we find 5 or 6 really good ones. And that's kind of an issue right now. We've got to figure out who these people are. And the number one person that should be running for Menace Ketchum's seat in 2018 and 2020 is Evan Jenkins. He absolutely is the one person who wins both those elections and wins them easily and can raise the money and would have the support of a lot of people, Republican.
Yeah, I've heard his name. I've heard his name bouncing around. Do you have any indication of his interest in it?
I know people have been in contact with him. They're certainly feeling him out for it. And he's a guy. It's just a weird timeline. What does he want to do now that he's going to be out of Congress? Does he want to be a judge? Does he want to work in D.C.? Does he want to come home and do something else and go back to the medical industry?
It would be brilliant. It would be a brilliant appointment by the governor, because if he appoints him, to the Supreme Court, he gets rid of a potential primary opponent for governor too.
Well, that's true. Yes, and that's the other thing. Evan's got to decide, because that's the other thing. When you go to the judicial side, you don't often come back to the political side. A lot of my friends have run for judge and things like that in Ohio, and it's one of those things. Once you disappear behind a robe, you can't be political anymore. You can't be as visible, and it's very, very hard to switch, go back and forth across that line throughout a career. Once you make that decision, you're probably stuck with it.
Yeah, but but the new judges aren't going to have unlimited expense accounts. I'm just kidding.
No, and that's certainly true. Again, I'm going to be getting their stuff at Office Depot. It's going to be fine. It'll work out.
Rob, thanks so much.
Again, Evan always brags about sleeping on that cot from Ollie's Discount Outlets.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
Hey, dude, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Gentlemen, talk soon. Stay strong.
Rob Cornelius, owner of 8 TV Screens, and our guest here on Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, courtesy of the WVU Medicine Jefferson Medical Center Talk Line. This last segment was brought to you by the Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Robert Fields and Sons, a family-owned full-service funeral home proudly serving our area since 1880. Now, Friday was the 49th anniversary of man's landing on the moon. And when I'm talking tech, I'm talking with our engineer, Rodney Rockwell. We're going to talk about that coming up out of the break here, Dave.
Life is complicated, but your finances shouldn't have to be. At BCT, we simplify your financial life. Bank of Charlestown is a locally owned community bank with 7 conveniently located offices serving the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia, Middleburg, Virginia, and their newest office in Hagerstown, Maryland. With over 140 years of experience, BCT is the tri-state area's choice for fast, convenient, and hassle-free banking solutions. Whether you are a high school senior looking for a student checking account, a college graduate purchasing a new car, a first-time home buyer, or investing for retirement, BCT has flexible solutions to fit your lifestyle. BCT is committed to providing everyday ways to simplify your financial life. Also, make sure you are following BCT on Twitter and Instagram at MyBCT or like their Facebook page to see how BCT reinvests local deposits back into the communities they serve. BCT, we simplify your financial life.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The Wellness Center at Berkeley Medical Center has introduced a 10-week sports-specific training program called SPEED for 12 to 17-year-old athletes. The goal of SPEED is to evaluate each individual athlete, assess their deficiencies, and design programs to improve the athlete's performance. The new program for young athletes includes strength and conditioning coaching from the Wellness Center pros, as well as the Technogym equipment. If you're interested in building a foundation of long-term athletic success and injury prevention for your athlete, contact the Wellness Center at Berkeley Medical Center.
If you're a victim in a motor vehicle wreck or injured due to another person's fault, at Ferretti Law Office, we get to work protecting your rights and getting you the money you need and deserve. The insurance companies handling your claims want a fast and cheap settlement. Before making that mistake, call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505 to discuss your claim for free. You did not choose to be injured, but your choice of law firms can make a difference. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Welcome back to the program. This segment of our show is brought to you this morning by Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies. When it comes to your home, auto, farm, or business, we're trusted, reliable, and experienced at Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies. 935-304-263-6540 and 304-263-6586. Our telephone numbers if you'd like to be part of our program today. So Friday, I wasn't here, but Friday is the political day, so we tend to not do things that are more current event, non-political related. And that was, of course, the 49th anniversary of the moon landing. Although some still dispute whether or not we landed on the moon, Dave. They think we landed on a sound stage somewhere in Burbank, California, and faked the entire moon landing.
Yeah, there are lunatics out there. There's no doubt about that. One time, I'm thinking about 1969.
How old were you?
I was 16 in 1969.
So very cognizant of the day of the moon.
I mean, and I was politically precocious at that age, and I mean, it was just an incredible year. My son, who's now 29, once asked me about 10 or so years ago. He said, "Dad, how old were you in 1969?" I said, "I was 16." He was specific. How old were you in the summer of 1969? I said I was 16 years old, and he said, "Oh my God, I'd have given anything to be 16 years old in the summer of 1969." There's something about that year, and as we look back in culture, that seems to be a magical year in so many ways. It was the year of Woodstock. In addition to being the year that we landed on the moon, it was the year that the Mets and the Jets both won championships. The impossible Mets that were never going to win a World Series. Miracle Mets, and the Jets.
AFL.
That AFL team.
Yep.
There was, and it was the year I got my driver's license. That's hardly in the Wikipedia outline of historical events, but it was an incredible year in history for sure.
You know, by the way, the Jets beat the Colts in that Super Bowl. And the defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator of the Jets that year, or the Colts that year, was Charles Henry Knoll, Chuck Knoll.
There you go.
I can't remember if he was the DC or the OC, but he had left that position at the end of that Super Bowl and went to the Steelers to start his own dynasty.
Well, you'll remember, too, that Joe Namath, then the young quarterback of the Jets, who had already made history by being the first big college guy to come out and sign in '64 with the fledgling AFL. actually predicted that they would beat the Colts and was kind of Muhammad Ali-ish about it too, in his braggadocio. And when it was all over, I remember it being a low-scoring game, like 12-9 or 13-9 or something like that.
Final score of that Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I believe it was 16-7.
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it was something in that area.
There are many things that took place, of course, to make that moon landing possible. It's been quite a story. It's been talked about. They've made movies about it. It's been studied. There are a lot of things that happened that we aren't necessarily aware of that day, July the 20th, 1969. Rodney Rockwell was a 9-year-old at that time. He's our engineer and is our guest in this segment. Good morning, Rodney.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, David.
Yeah, tell us some of this behind-the-scenes stuff about that day.
Well, to get to where they were on July 16th, 1969, which was the day they launched, involved the efforts of about 500,000 people. President Kennedy outlined in the early 1960s that the goal was to go to the moon, land a man, and return him safely to the Earth.
In fact, that was part of his inauguration speech in January of 61.
No, that came after.
It was not?
No, Alan Shepard, who was America's first space traveler in May of 1961, made his suborbital space flight May 5th, I believe, and then shortly after that, President Kennedy made the announcement that the goal is to go to the moon. The United States at that time had been in space for 15 minutes, had not even orbited the Earth. Mm-hmm. And President Kennedy announced that we're going to the moon, which completely shocked everyone at NASA. And they knew that they had to ramp up very quickly and get the ball rolling. And so they had to design procedures. They had to implement procedures, design equipment, and even came up with alloys that had never been invented at that time in order to make the space flight possible, because it is very expensive to launch things that weigh any amount of weight into space, into orbit, and particularly to the moon. So
at this time, jet engines are still relatively new in 1961.
And they're extremely unreliable. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Alan Shepard made the first suborbital flight in May of 1961, and in July of 1961, Gus Grissom followed with an identical flight. Grissom lost his space capsule after he landed. It filled with water and sank to the bottom of the ocean. They recovered that about 10 or so years ago.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And then it was John Glenn that made the first orbital flight in February of 1962. So by this time, the Russians had already orbited a couple of men into space.
Which caused a panic.
And, well, what really caused the panic to start off with was in October of 1957 with the launch of Sputnik. Mm-hmm. And that sent chills throughout the upper echelon of the United States government, because obviously if you can put something into orbit around the Earth, you can actually put a warhead on it and impact it anywhere in the Earth.
And this is the height of the Red Scare and the Cold War here.
Exactly. And Kennedy's goal wasn't so much that he liked the space program or anything. It was a goal of ours during the Cold War. So he had more emphasis on beating the Russians at that than he did the fact that a lot of people thought that he was very interested in the space program. He was to some extent, but his main goal was to beat the Russians at something.
One of the remarkable things about going to the moon in 1969 as well, I think, is that the background to all of this was the Vietnam War.
Yes.
Was raging at that time. You had just had the Tet Offensive in 68. 69 was among the highest loss of lives in that war. It had become fully escalated. We had hundreds of thousands of troops there. The campuses were burning up with protests around the country. I mean, it was really a very, very divided nation.
Oh,
in
yes.
1968.
Our society was in turmoil.
Yeah, much more than what you think today in these divided states that we have.
Sure.
I mean, it was actually being acted out on the streets and on college campuses, and you have the Woodstock, which was basically a 5-day protest event done musically. So you had all of this division in this country, and in the middle of all of it, how this country found a way to do the moon landing in the middle of all that is really quite amazing.
Well, a lot of the folks that were directly involved with this were working incredibly long hours, and they focused on what they had to do. They were aware of what was going on in society around them, but they didn't dwell on it. They focused a lot on the mission at hand, and that was to get us to the moon, which involved a couple of different steps, if you will. The first step is, as we talked about a few minutes ago with the early astronauts, was Project Mercury, and that was a single astronaut in orbit around the Earth, basically to see that we can do it. We can get into orbit. We can do limited functions while they're in orbit, while they're weightless. And that was followed up by Project Gemini, which involved 2 astronauts. And there were a total of 10 manned space flights in Project Gemini from 1965 through 1966. And those flights, they were able to perform things that they were going to need in order to go to the moon, such as a rendezvous and docking procedure between 2 spacecrafts.
When I was 16 years old, we were watching this live on television, black and white, and watching the transmission, sitting with my family. All 5 of the kids were there. We were there. It was a huge event, and we were all gathered around the family room television watching this. And it was stunning. I mean, to be watching this event, someone landing on the moon and doing the Armstrong and one small step for mankind and all of that, it was truly. I'm sure you recall.
I remember. Yes, it was very surreal.
It was just absolutely stunning. It was like you could not believe what was happening before your eyes, because that was not anything that was ever going to happen.
And you remember the first television pictures coming back from the moon during that moonwalk. They were not very clear. It was very difficult. The pictures were kind of grainy.
Not like what we're used to now.
Absolutely not.
But you could tell what was going on.
Yeah, you could see figures. You could see two people, 2 men in big white bulky spacesuits walking around. You could see them picking up rocks. You could see them unfurling the flag. You could see them setting up the experiments and everything, but certainly not with the clarity that we have today.
We were watching on black and white TV.
Right. Have they been digitally enhanced since then? I mean, if you were to go on like YouTube now and watch them.
Yes, the original videotapes that were recorded of the first moonwalk were destroyed. They were accidentally erased over.
I didn't know that.
Yes, all of the video and data.
You mean
coming
the original recording does not exist?
The original does.
Did they have to reenact it?
No. What they did is they basically have copies of copies, and those are what have been digitally reproduced and enhanced to make them look a little clearer than they were. The original video coming back from the moon. And this explains why it was so herky-jerky and grainy on our television sets, was actually done with a technology called slow scan television. Instead of the NTSC video standard of 525 lines per video shot, I forget, slow scan is, I believe, 300 and something lines per scan. So the 2 formats were totally incompatible. NASA did not place much emphasis on television as they did of the actual event. So television coming back from the first moonwalk was sort of an afterthought. And it wasn't until almost the last minute that they realized, how are we going to distribute this product, these pictures, to the world with technology that's not compatible? So what they did is, on the monitor at Mission Control in Houston, which is the huge video screen that you see when you look at the pictures of Mission Control, they set a regular television camera up, which is the NTSC format that all of the televisions worked with back then, and they just pointed it at their monitor. So you had slow screen images showing up on a fast screen camera. So there was a lot of information or clarity that was lost during all of that.
The GoPro camera that we have in this corner right here that's capturing this very broadcast is more sophisticated than the cameras they probably had in 1969.
Yes, they were, yes.
We'll have more, including what went wrong behind the scenes, some things we don't know about, coming up after our break here. Brought to you, this last segment was indeed by L.A. Roberts Jewelers, committed to excellence in quality design and craftsmanship at historic downtown Martinsburg.
And here's what happened when they decided
Come in now for the summer clearance event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Martinsburg, where you can get up to $11,250 in total savings on a 2018 Ram Bighorn. Pay just $229 a month with $3,499 down. How about a 2019 Jeep Cherokee for only $189 a month with $34.99 down and up to $4,000 cash back? Get $3,250 off a 2018 Dodge Challenger or Charger with payments as low as $179 per month. Going green? Check out the 2018 Hybrid Pacifica with a $7,500 federal tax credit. These savings and more are available at the summer clearance event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Kelly Island Road or online at millerschryslerjeep.com, your Chrysler certified pre-owned dealer. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tags, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details.
For an Allstate agent, providing protection that fits your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and personalizing protection to meet them. From bundling your auto, home, and life insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage based on your protection needs, your Allstate agent can build an insurance proposal that fits your life. Are you in good hands? Contact Martinsburg Allstate agent Gary Kelly today for a free quote at 304-263-4596. Life insurance offered through Allstate Life Insurance Company and Allstate Assurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois, and American Heritage Life Insurance Company, Jacksonville, Florida. Simply free e-checking from City National Bank. Perfect if you want basic checking with no monthly service fees or balance requirements. Stop by any of our 7 Eastern Panhandle locations or visit us online at bankatscity.com. City National Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. Ground mass is very fine. I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Oh, that looks beautiful.
Today on Vintage Space, I am taking on the conspiracy theorist's favorite argument of a
0 hour, 9 a.m.
9:49. Welcome back to the program, Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave, brought to you in this segment by our good friends at Bechtel Jewelers, West Virginia's largest Pandora retailer, Route 11 South Inwood, next to Viva Mexico. It was July 20th of 1969 when man landed on the moon. You just heard Neil Armstrong's famous statement right there as he stepped the foot down off the lemon onto the moon's surface. And Rodney Rockwell is our guest in this segment as we remember that. Couldn't do it Friday because that was the political show, so the next possible day today. So we wanted to look back on this and learn some of the things behind the scenes in our last few minutes of this 9 o'clock hour before we break for Glenn Beck. Rodney, some things people don't know about that day.
Well, something that was very much a concern by the folks in Mission Control Houston as they were making their descent to the moon. They were looking at the data and telemetry coming back from the lunar module as Neil Armstrong had the controls and was trying to guide it in for a landing. He was having a difficult time finding a smooth place to set down. The place where the computer, the flight computer, was taking them was a boulder-strewn crater of a significant size, and obviously you can't set your landing craft down inside of something like that. So he was searching desperately for a place that was flat and had no boulders, no obstructions or anything like that, and he burned up a lot of fuel. And when he finally landed on the moon, they had about 17 seconds of fuel left in the tank.
That's it.
17 seconds.
And if they don't get that done in the next 17 seconds, what happens?
They crash.
Do they likely die?
Absolutely. That would have been the end of it. Now,
so as they're descending, they're on their descent, they only had 17 seconds by the time they landed.
By the time
when you first said that, I was thinking, okay, they get down, they have 17 seconds to get back up, but it must work differently than that.
No,
Okay.
they had 17 seconds of fuel in the tank. Now, the craft that they used to land on the moon actually had 2 stages. It had a descent stage and an ascent stage. The descent stage was the bottom part of a 2-part spacecraft, and it's the part that had the legs on it that made it look like a spider. That is the descent stage, and that had all of the hardware and everything to land them on the moon. Now, at some point during the descent, they would have had the ability to punch the ascent engine, turn it on, and get out of there. But at the low altitude that they were, when they were hunting for a place to land, they were beyond the point. They had reached the point of no return.
And he's aware of the fact he's got 17 seconds to make a decision?
All he knows is he's getting call-outs from the ground in Houston of how much fuel he has left in terms of seconds.
Talk about pressure.
The first call-out came at 60 seconds. You heard the Capcom, the capsule communicator on the ground, call out 60 seconds. And he knew at that point he had 60 seconds to land it. He still didn't find a place to land it. And then 30 seconds later, he got the call, 30 seconds. And then within a few seconds of that, he actually found a place, landed it, and they shut it down. I'm not sure that Armstrong and Aldrin knew at that moment exactly how much fuel they had left in terms of seconds. All they knew was they had less than 30 seconds.
Well, and if a few seconds had gone by, they were probably extremely aware that they better get this baby down. At some point in time, they were just going to have to land it.
Right.
They're kind of lucky in a way they found that flat surface.
They sure did. Now, the place that they landed on the moon is a place called the Sea of Tranquility, which in and of itself is normally a very flat, open area. But the reconnaissance that they had of that landing area was taken from overhead orbiting unmanned spacecraft years before, from an altitude of about 60 miles or so. So based on what they knew with observations from 60 miles high from unmanned probes, they determined that that was a very open and flat area to land. And unfortunately, when you get closer, it was revealed that it wasn't.
When is the last time we have landed a human being on the moon?
That would have been in December of 1972 with Apollo 17.
And so we went from 69 to 72 with how many moon landings?
We had 6 successful moon landings.
And we've never been back
right.
since 1972. I find that to be kind of weird, too. I mean, we did all of this 50 years ago, and we've not been back since. I wonder why.
Well, at that point...
Did they say it's not worth it?
The opinion of the public at that time was that, well, we've been there, we've done that. Let's stop spending the amount of money, the enormous amount of money it takes to put people on the moon, and focus in other places. So NASA's mission right after the Apollo project was Skylab, the orbiting space station.
Right, I remember Skylab.
And then we had the very last Apollo mission actually occurred in 1975 with the Apollo-Soyuz test project, where the United States and the Russians linked up in July of 1975. But then after that, we got into the space shuttle program, and then International Space Station construction, and here we are today.
Are there any other little things about this mission that we don't know about that we should?
Well, one of the more interesting things that's kind of frightening was that after the moonwalk, Armstrong and Aldrin crawled back into the lunar module Eagle, and they discovered that during the preparation for the moonwalk, a circuit breaker had inadvertently been broken and was looked to be in pretty bad shape. And unfortunately, the circuit breaker was the breaker that was used to arm the ascent engine, which would allow them to blast off the moon the next day. So they radioed this information to Mission Control Houston, and while Armstrong and Aldrin slept for about 5.5 hours, Mission Control Houston was pondering how to get this circuit breaker to be operational. When the time came the next day, they were still kind of pondering, exactly the best way to do it. Buzz Aldrin come up with a solution. He took the tip of his ballpoint pen and shoved it down inside the open part of the switch, and it was actually long enough to push the switch and circuit breaker contacts together to arm the engine, which allowed them to blast off the moon to link up with orbiting Michael Collins overhead.
So if he doesn't
sounds
bring
like
his
something
pen-
I'd do on my '95 Chevy pickup.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, it definitely was something they improvised at the last minute, but it saved the day.
Unbelievable.
That's quite a tale.
Yes, and also during the liftoff from the moon, the flag that was planted on the moon during the moonwalk blew over. The exhaust from the ascent engine had been so strong that it actually knocked the flag down. Buzz Aldrin had confirmed that he was looking out of the window at the time and saw the flag topple over. So that was a very sad ending to that particular mission.
So on the next mission, they stood it back up?
The next mission landed hundreds of miles away from there, so we never repeated going back to the previous landing sites. All of the landing sites that we picked out and landed at were different.
Good stuff, Rodney.
And that would make sense. They wanted to explore different parts.
Been there, done that.
Of the moon, yeah.
That's when we first learned the moon was not made of cheese, Dave.
I think it was the first time, yeah. They went hungry up there. They were expecting the cheese, and then they
brought
didn't
some
get
nice
any.
wine.
Yeah, exactly.
Camembert.
Yeah, blanket.
And the next landing site, they found out there were milk duds there.
Hey, Rodney, thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
stuff, man.
It's 9:58. Final minute of the program next.
Possibilities are all around us. We see potential in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action in communities all around the world. Together, we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved at Rotary.org.
You're doing okay today, but let's take a little trip 5 years into the future. You're faced with funeral expenses for your loved one. You've got paperwork and logistics and scheduling, a lot of hassle. But a little forward thinking now can save you a lot of heartache later. It's easier than you think. We're Brown Funeral Homes, family owned, in business for over 135 years. Think smart, think ahead. Brown Funeral Homes, Martinsburg, Inwood, and Charlestown, Ranson.
Big thanks to all of our guests on the program today, including Rodney Rockwell. Rodney, great stuff, man. That was very interesting.
You're welcome.
Davey, tomorrow on the show, Financial Phil.
Always a joy to have Phil, and then Delegate Riley Moore also. We'll talk more about the proceedings down in the Legislative Committee in the House of Delegates.
Yeah, Riley's on the Judiciary Committee, and on Thursday, the administrator will be testifying as part of this. I got Steve Canterbury scheduled to appear, and this is the guy with a lot of the facts.
All hell is going to break loose on Thursday, I think.
Glenn Beck is next. This is Talk Radio WRNR Martinsburg. Talk to you again in 22 short hours.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by